Everyone works together to help these actors breathe life into these characters.
From improvised moments to actors getting rejected, it's no easy task landing a Marvel role. Some of your favorite Marvel heroes didn't even audition for the part they ultimately got. These are the stories of how our favorite MCU characters were cast.
Seriously, kid, where are you from?
Queens.
Number 1. You have to have a lot of confidence to do what Tom Holland did during his audition for Spider-Man. He didn't just enter a room with Chris Evans, he flipped into the scene, embodying the web-slinger's athleticism. And during his screen test with Robert Downey Jr., the two improvised, even though Tom's agents warned him not to.
She knew she'd freak out, and when she freaks out, I freak out, and it's not good.
After 7 months of auditioning, Marvel had seen enough and announced Tom Holland as the new Spider-Man, which Holland learned the same time as the rest of us. Number 2. Zendaya knows how to play a girl perfectly. When she auditioned for the role, she had no idea it was for MJ and Spider-Man, as the casting call was for Girl in Movie. It wasn't until she signed an NDA and read the script that she learned what the part was actually for. Holland recalls that the producers knew right away that they had found their MJ. Nobody could pull off the role of Girl in Movie like Zendaya does. Number 3. She-Hulk wasn't exactly Tatiana Maslany's first choice. She stated that she auditioned for multiple Marvel roles, but got rejected each and every time.
I truly auditioned for this. I love auditioning.
It seems as if Marvel finally came to their senses, as they cast Maslany as the big green attorney at law.
The luxury of having the director there, as much as it's terrifying, that's the job.
We're not sure what other roles she auditioned for, but she stated she is quite happy with how everything worked out. Number 4. Who better to cast in a Marvel film than a massive Marvel fan? Iman Vellani is obsessed with the comics, and specifically Miss Marvel's character, so getting cast as the hero was a dream come true. Vellani found out about the casting call through her aunt, who forwarded her the information, and Vellani recalls it not looking too legit.
Super sketchy. I don't know what casting calls look like.
She sent in her audition tape at 3 a.m. and found out months later on her last day of school that she had landed the role. This was actually her first acting job, which is an extremely impressive way to kick off your career. Number 5. Can you imagine anyone else playing the God of Thunder in the MCU? Apparently, Marvel initially could. They turned Hemsworth down at first, and Chris completely understood.
I think my audition sucked. I think that was the response I got.
Hemsworth had to read Shakespearean-esque dialogue for his audition.
Wait, when I discovered an especially rare breed of butterfly.
So we can understand it being a little difficult. Chris's younger brother Liam actually almost ended up landing the role, but was turned down for being too young. Chris was then called back in, and he nailed it his second time around. Number 6. How do you like them apples? Simu Liu's first audition for Shang-Chi included reading 2 scenes from Good Will Hunting, and Liu couldn't resist imitating Matt Damon.
I got my 10 rings, ma.
It may seem like a weird choice, but casting director Sarah Finn was impressed with everything he did. He went through a long and arduous audition process, and he completely nailed every audition. Liu actually predicted his casting. Way back when Shang-Chi was first announced, he tweeted, "Okay, at Marvel, we gonna talk or what?" Freaky. Number 7. Doctor Strange could have looked very different. Director Scott Derrickson had no doubts about who he wanted to play the Sorcerer Supreme.
Benedict was always our first choice for the role.
But even though Cumberbatch had an amazing audition and was offered the role, he initially couldn't take it due to scheduling conflicts with another project he was working on at the time. Marvel wanted him so badly though, that they pushed back production of the movie to accommodate Cumberbatch. That is some real sorcery from Benedict. Number 8. We almost got a different Black Widow. Emily Blunt was actually cast, which really bummed out Johansson. I wanted to work with Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr., and then I did not get the role, and I was pretty bummed about that. Blunt had scheduling conflicts, which opened up the door for Scarlett's return, and it's safe to say everyone was happy about how things turned out.
We knew that Scarlett could bring the depth and the texture to the character that we wanted.
Number 9. Tom is the true trickster god. So much so that he tried auditioning for the role of Thor in the original movie. The audition process lasted 3 months, and you already know how it turned out for Hiddleston.
What you always wanted.
He didn't land the role of Thor, but the casting directors at Marvel saw something more mischievous in his future.
The moment he came in and read, though, it was Loki.
Number 10. It's Ned's world and we're just living in it. Jacob Batalon had very little acting experience before his role as Ned in Spider-Man Homecoming. It was his first ever audition, and he never believed he would get the role. Batalon said that the audition was nerve-wracking for him. Tom had a really good time, but I was shaking in my shoes. At least Zendaya and Tom Holland both seemed to really enjoy Batalon's audition tapes. Number 11. Chadwick Boseman was a true king through and through. Boseman originally auditioned to play Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he wasn't quite the right fit for the character. The casting director said that Boseman played the character like a king.
Every cell in my body united in one single purpose.
Which didn't work for Drax, but did work for another character they were introducing 2 years later.
But when it came time to cast Black Panther, I was very sure of him for that role.
Number 12. He is Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.'s audition went exactly how you would expect it to go. He had charisma, charm, and had everyone in the room laughing.
There it is, there's a smile, it's okay. Yeah, so it's natural, less muscles to smile.
Downey got into the mindset that there was nobody else that could possibly get the role but him.
I don't want to call it an out-of-body experience, but it was one of those rushes.
It seems everyone in the world knows that hiring Downey as Iron Man was unquestionably the right move.
I think hiring Robert Downey Jr. Was the best decision we've ever made.
How about that?
Number 13. If it isn't Star Prince. Or maybe it's Captain America, since that's the role Pratt initially auditioned for.
Yeah, by the time you do, Jimmy could be dead.
How do you know he isn't already?
Well, I don't. I'm not going to sit around here and wait for someone to tell me.
He didn't get that role, and almost didn't get the role of Star-Lord, as James Gunn resisted auditioning Pratt.
I went to James, and he said, Chris Pratt. No way, he's totally wrong.
Gunn was finally convinced to let Pratt audition, and 10 seconds in, James Gunn looked at casting director Sarah Finn and said, he's the guy. Pratt's screen test alongside Dave Bautista featured some hilarious improv, and we can see why Gunn was so quick to change his mind.
Is it a cassette compilation tape?
Number 14. We Stan. The Winter Soldier wanted to be Captain America, and he gave a great audition. He just wasn't right for the part. Casting director Sarah Finn said they saw a bit of darkness in his performance that was better suited for Bucky. Number 15. Another actor who went for a completely different role. Karen Gillan auditioned for Agent 13 in Captain America the Winter Soldier, but they saw something else in her performance.
Karen was someone who was an incredibly grounded and solid actor.
When they brought her back in to read for Nebula, they were originally going to let her use her natural Scottish accent, which you can hear in her audition tape.
The disdain that brims on you for our way of life, but I am at my brim.
James Gunn stated that Gillan's audition was his favorite of any of the Guardians of the Galaxy actors. Number 16. Expect disappointment and you'll never really be disappointed. Dave Bautista went into his audition for Drax with low expectations, but that didn't stop him from nailing his part. He went through months of auditioning and chemistry tests, which found him doing a screen test alongside Chris Pratt. He bounced improv off him, including his famous finger on throat line.
Why would I put my finger on his throat?
It was an instant connection between the two, and it was clear there was no other choice for Star-Lord's right-hand man.
We didn't know each other, had never met each other, and we just clicked.
Number 17. Brolin's casting as Thanos was inevitable. He wasn't sure how the motion capture performance would work, so he watched videos of Benedict Cumberbatch giving his mocap performance in The Hobbit. He took inspiration from the performance to create his own performance as Thanos. He's such an amazing performer and so uniquely suited to Thanos. Number 18. Higher, Further, Faster. Brie Larson first tried joining the Marvel Empire back in Phase 1, when she auditioned for both Thor and Iron Man 2. Years later, Marvel gave Larson a call to tell her they wanted her to play Captain Marvel, which she initially refused multiple times.
Oh, I can't do that. Like, I have too much anxiety. That's too much for me. I don't think I can handle that.
After several months, she was finally convinced to take the part after reading the script and meeting all the writers.
I remember my team being really proud of me because they knew that it was a big step for me.
Number 19. From disembodied voice to a real boy. Don't forget, Paul Bettany's vision was first and foremost the AI voice of Tony Stark's Jarvis assistant. Bettany had no inkling of an idea back in 2008 that he would ever get a chance to play the Vision in the MCU. But when Avengers Age of Ultron came around, Joss Whedon came a-knockin'.
My phone rang, and it was Joss Whedon, and he said, "Do you want to be the Vision in the Avengers?" And I went, "Yes, I do."
Number 20. Mackie's so good, he never even had to audition. He was always Marvel's first choice to play the Falcon, and they immediately offered him the role. We just offered him the role, in my memory. He did not audition. That's only happened a handful of times at Marvel. Mackie did, however, audition for the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, which caught the attention of Winter Soldier directors, the Russo brothers. He has charisma, but he also has the ability to convey integrity in a way that very few actors can. We had no idea how different the face of the MCU could have been if things just went slightly different. But we're more than happy with what we got, and these actors proved that they deserve the parts they landed. Which audition story did you find most surprising? Let us know down in the comments, and thanks for stopping by at The Things.